It has been a little over 2 months since I left my full-time game dev job at Coffee Stain to pursue something else. It has been 2 incredibly busy months for me, but what have I actually accomplished? It's kind of wild thinking that it's been 2 months because it really feels like it's just been like a couple of weeks, which is also kind of stressful because even though it's been long since I left, I feel like I've amounted to very little. But I also feel like I've amounted to a lot. When I quit my job, I knew that things weren't gonna turn out the way that I thought, and they sure didn't. So in this video, I'd like to talk about what I've been up to the last couple of months and sort of share what I've learned so far. I left Coffee Stain because I felt like I needed to do something else, but I didn't quite know what that was. I had a couple of initial options that I wanted to give a go. One was doing full-time content creation for YouTube or Twitch. The other was doing, community management consulting work for other studios and maybe do freelance work or whatever. The other thing was working on my own game, either as a solo developer or, with the pursuit of maybe seeking funding or maybe start a little studio with a couple of people or something like that, kind of see where that took me. Or do something completely different, something that I didn't expect I would be doing. A piece of advice that I often see floating around is if you quit your job to pursue something else, you should know what that is before you leave. And I didn't do this. And now I understand why this is the advice you're often given. The first few weeks after I quit, I felt very lost. I was constantly thinking about what should I do today to create something that can potentially lead to an income? Every decision that I made always came down to a cost. Doing this will cost a lot of time, or I need to spend money to be able to do this, and I'm not sure I'll get a return on investment for that stuff. So everything always boiled down to the fact that time is money or whatever. There was no routine to anything that I did. I would wake up and I would just immediately start thinking okay, what do I need to work on today? How do I make the most of the day? How do I spend my time as efficiently as possible? That would be something that would be on my mind throughout the entire day. It felt almost like the effort that went into thinking about that all the time, thinking how do I make the most of my time? That took almost more effort than actually doing the things that I was working on. If I took a break to have dinner, I would be but I could work a little bit more during the evening, right? So I might as well make the most of the time that I have. When you're starting up a business or doing anything really, things take a lot longer than you realize. And there's also an element of being burned out. I know what it's like being burned out. I know it's very possible to get burned out by working in this manner. So I'm also stressing out about the fact that I need to remember that I can't keep this up for too long, working like this. One of the first things that I needed to check with myself after I quit was whether or not I wanted to be a full-time content creator or something like that. And one of the initial struggles I had here was, figuring out what do I do with this channel. And one thing that I wanted to try was to make much bigger videos for the channel. So the last video that I posted on this channel was a much bigger endeavor. It involved so much more than just making the video. If you haven't watched that video, I basically made a card game and I took you through the process of designing and coming up with ideas for that card game and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, a lot of effort went into it. And that video ended up not, really hitting all the marks for me, which was okay. I didn't get as much out of the video as I put into the video, if that makes sense. Because it was a really draining video to make, and it took me almost 2 months in total to make both the content for the video and the video itself. So in terms of what you get out of it, it wasn't the most cost-effective one, I guess, or whatever. But it was a really good learning opportunity, which was more so the goal for that video. I want to see if I make a big video like this, will I enjoy doing that? Or will I want to make something else? And I think the lesson here was that, maybe that's not for me. And I might still enjoy making bigger videos, but I need to have a little bit more drive in pursuit of those type of videos. I feel like I also sort of need to like figure out a more streamlined process when making these type of videos, because I need to be able to like just, you know, turn on the camera and record and not spend hours of setting up and tearing down equipment and stuff like that. I do have a lot of other ideas for formats for videos that I'm gonna pursue next. So the channel might oscillate quite a bit the next couple of videos, but I'm still sort of like finding my voice and all that stuff for this channel. So that's just how it is. I've also really enjoyed the interactions that I've had here on the channel in the comments from you guys. There's been a lot of like content that I made that I wasn't too sure about myself to put out, but I got like really interesting discussions generated through the comments by you guys. There's been like a really interesting sort of exchange that I didn't quite expect with this channel being so small. So I really appreciate that. The other thing that I wanted to pursue was Twitch. So I started streaming a lot more regularly. I wanted to try and stream as like a full-time thing for a couple of weeks and see what that was like. And that turned out to be really fulfilling. And for the time being, actually also quite financially viable. You know, it's not amazing money or anything like that, but it has sort of paid the bills. So big thank you to everyone who's been supporting me on that platform. That's something that I hope I can keep doing. I don't have a steady schedule yet, but every Monday I try and post like that week's schedule on my channel page. So there's that at least. Another thing that I wanted to pursue was to check if I wanted to do any type of freelance work for game development. When I left Coffee Stain, I got a lot of offers from various studios to work as a community manager, which has been really flattering, and I've gotten an unhealthy amount of ego boost from that. It's really made me reflect on like my value as a game developer and sort of, you know, what I have to offer. And it's been really tricky to figure out like which avenue to pursue here when I got so many like interesting opportunities. Because the thing with opportunities is that they typically don't last forever. Opportunities just don't automatically come to you all the time. But I really felt like it was important for me, at least right now, to sort of give myself room to work on my own stuff rather than just like, you know, take the highest paying role right away. But there's been some opportunities that I thought were really interesting. Some didn't quite work out, but I am currently involved in a couple of projects right now that I can't talk too much about because I am under NDA, but yeah, there's some stuff going on at least. And the thing with this too is like, it's so hard to say no to so many things when I know how hard it currently is in the jobs market for game developers. So that's also something that's like constantly nagging me. The fact that I quit my job at a time when it's so hard to find a job. And the final thing that I want to pursue was the ambition to also make my own game. This is something that I've wanted to do basically since I started making games. I always wanted to make my own game and release my own game. A little bit of a fun fact, this is actually something that I was thinking of doing right before I started working at Coffee Stain. At the time when I was applying for that role, I thought, you know, like, I'll give this a go for a year or so and then I could do, you know, set out to do my own thing or do like a sabbatical or whatever. And then, yeah, here we are 8 years later, I guess. But here's the thing, I actually had an idea that I was really motivated by before I left Coffee Stain. I was really excited about this. Basically, the goal of the game was to dig a hole. That's the whole premise, right? You would get a plot of land that you could dig into, you could dig a hole into that. As you're digging, you're finding stuff. You could upgrade your shovel. You wouldn't really know why you're digging. And there's a bit of a mystery as you're going down. Literally the week after I quit my job, this exact game was released. Well, at least it proved that it was a good idea, I guess. So yeah, I felt kind of defeated. I felt a bit deflated because that was like the game idea that I wanted to pursue if I pursue that avenue. Feeling defeated, I decided, okay, I'll just pursue content creation and consulting work and that stuff before I start dabbling with any of my own game ideas. And as the weeks went by, I started writing down ideas that I came up with. After sort of doing content creation for full time now, I decided, you know, now is the time to sort of start dabbling a little bit with prototyping some of these ideas. And since then, I've made 5 prototypes. I won't talk too much about these games in this video because I want to save that for another time. After doing prototyping and exploring that for a bit, I just realized that this is what I should be doing. Game development is still the thing that I burn for the most. My goal right now is to pursue one of the prototypes that I've made, unless someone else beats me to it first again, I guess. And like, it's been very fulfilling to do content creation and stuff, but I just feel like after prototyping, it just clicked for me that like, this is what I enjoy doing the most. And we'll see where that takes us. So yeah, what have I learned over the last 2 months? I've learned that I am a game developer, first and foremost. As much as I enjoy making content, I don't see myself becoming like a full-time content creator, anytime soon. The other thing I learned is that routine is immensely important, okay? This is probably the most important lesson that I've had so far. I have stopped working weekends, and I am trying to focus on working just like regular old work hours. I might still work a bit more than the regular 40-hour weeks, but the goal is to have regular work weeks. It helps drown out the anxiety and the worry for the future, and it makes me really possible for me to like focus on the now and like what actually needs to be done rather than like, oh, I gotta work and I gotta do stuff and I gotta get shit done, So on days when I'm streaming, I typically work on my game in the morning and then I stream in the afternoon. If I have any like additional freelance work I need to get done, then I'll slot in time for that in the week. Another really important lesson for me is to have a smooth workflow. And what I mean by that is I have felt it's been really important to sort of eliminate friction with everything I do. Answering emails shouldn't take like a full day. Recording a video shouldn't take hours just to like get started. It's not so much about, working smarter, not harder or whatever. It's more about figuring out like how to not get stuck in the process or the lead up to the process. And last but not least, nothing will go the way you think. Even if you anticipate that things won't go the way you think, things will always derail. I knew that things weren't gonna go the way that I thought, and I was still surprised by it. So yeah, that's a little bit of what I've been doing the last couple of months. If you wanna catch me on one of my streams, then I stream over on Twitch. And as I mentioned, I typically post my week schedule on Mondays, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much for watching this one, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.